Without a doubt, Toy Story is the biggest and best animated franchise in history. But even knowing that, do you have any idea about the amount of mysterious and interesting facts that the various Woody and Buzz movies never answered for us? Is the second Lotso evil too? For sure, among all the Disney villains, Lotso is in the top 5 most evil. That's saying a lot if we consider that he's a simple strawberry-scented teddy bear. Even more so now that we know he'll also be in Toy Story 5, alongside Lilypad as one of the villains of the new movie. And how is it possible that something as cute and adorable as him could become someone so Machiavellian and cruel to the point of leaving Woody and his friends for certain death in that iconic incinerator scene in Toy Story 3? But the question that remains in the air is only that Lotso we know evil? And if you stop to think about it, you'll realize that there really is a huge chance that all the Lotzos out there are actually evil. Many believe that Lotso only turned bad when he saw that his owner now had a brand new Lotso bear as her favorite toy. However, in reality, that just awakened something in him that he already had inside. In fact, there's a big chance that that second Lotso who was in the first Lotso's old house has the exact same tendency to do bad things if he gets forgotten, or when his owner doesn't want him anymore because she grew up, or for whatever other reason. Think about it. If every Buzz Lightyear has a heroic tendency, and every Zurg has a tendency to be a villain, possibly every Lotso has a manipulative side that forces others to do what he wants, regardless of the evil he needs to commit to get it. So facing that, the doubt left hanging isn't whether every Lotso is evil, but is the Lotso that's going to show up in Toy Story 5 the same one from Toy Story 3, or just another evil Lotso who will team up with Lilypad? That is something that, if it turns out to be true, will definitely blow my mind, just like our list is going to blow yours. How did Sid die? Still talking about villains from the Toy Story franchise, it's impossible for us to make a video about the Buzz and Woody movies and not remember the first big villain, Sid, that sadistic boy who destroyed, or from the point of view of Woody's friends, killed toys just for pleasure. However, in another movie from Pixar itself, we found out that the boy grew up and at some point died and ended up in the land of the dead. The scene in question happens in the musical tournament in the afterlife in Coco, where we see a skeleton participating in the contest playing multiple keyboards who is wearing the exact same shirt as Sid. And for many, this isn't just a reference to the boy, but actually Sid himself, only in the afterlife. And if that's true, we can notice that the skeleton guy is taller than the Sid from Toy Story, which indicates that he grew up. We could say that he was the same age as Andy in Toy Story 3 when he handed over his toys to Bonnie and went off to college, indicating that Sid's passing must have happened around that same time, since Andy and his old neighbor are practically the same age. So how would the guy have passed away? Could the scare Woody gave him have been so strong that it ended up resulting in something in Sid's future that might have led to his passing? Who is Andy's dad? Now let's talk a little bit about Andy and his family. We know that in the family house of Woody's former owner lived him, his little sister, and his mom. However, we never saw or heard anything about who Andy's dad would be. And since he was never shown, some theories started popping up in the minds of the franchise's fans. One of them claims that he works always traveling and that, for this reason, Andy's family would have moved in the first movie, where Buzz and Woody almost ended up being left behind. Another possibility would be that he actually wouldn't be alive anymore, and Andy's mom would be a widow. The main foundation for this theory came up when the same postcard that was found on the mirror of the Fredricksen couple from Up is also seen in Andy's room in Toy Story 3. This means that the two families have some kind of relation. And if you don't recall, Carl's wife passed away from a chronic health issue in Up. Andy's dad might be from the same family as Carl's wife, and might have developed the same issue and, because of that, passed away and left his family. Of course, this is just a theory. Maybe Andy's parents are just divorced. The fact is that, to this day, nobody knows for sure the whereabouts of Andy's dad and what might have happened to him. How did Andy get Woody? Another big mystery that permeates the minds and hearts of Toy Story fans has existed since the release of Toy Story 2, where we discover that Woody is actually an extremely rare toy from the 1950s based on a marionette TV show. Since then, the mystery of how such a rare and famous toy ended up falling into the hands of little Andy showed up and never went away, since the franchise never explained it. And that's where Andy's dad comes in again, who probably was the first owner of the Ragdoll Sheriff when he was still just a little boy. He grew up, got married, had kids, and then vanished. Just kidding. And when his oldest boy was old enough, he passed his favorite toy down to him. For that reason, Andy's relationship with Woody is so special, because the toy cowboy wouldn't be just an action figure, but the strongest object of emotional value he has that links him directly to his dad. It's worth reinforcing that this is another theory that Pixar never confirmed, but it makes total sense, don't you agree? Who created the rules? In the first Toy Story movie, Woody and the toys that were deformed by Andy's neighbor get revenge on the kid by giving him a huge scare. And if you watch the movie again, you'll see, or rather you'll hear, that when gathering the toys to talk about his plan, Woody mentions that they are going to need to break the rule, but that it'll be worth it. This line from our toy cowboy makes it clear that there's some sort of universal rule for toys that forbids them from moving when they're in the presence of humans. The question is, who created this rule? How do all the toys know about it? That's because even Buzz, who believed he was a real space ranger, would stay completely motionless in the presence of any person. So it would be more or less like they couldn't even really move while someone is around. Without a doubt, this is very intriguing. And if you've made it this far into the video, that means you're having a good time. So please click the subscribe button right now. It's totally free and it helps us out more than you can imagine. Animals and toys. The existence of the golden rule for toys that we just mentioned brings us to another question. Obviously, it only applies to humans, and for sure, it doesn't apply to animals. The proof of this is in the scene where the toys are chased by Scud, Sid's dog, or even with Buster, Andy's good old dog who not only knows the toys are alive, but also obeys Woody's commands. But how far does this relationship between animals and toys go? And more, why doesn't the golden rule apply to them too? These are mysteries never explained in Toy Story, at least until now. Are toys immortal? Considering that Woody is a toy over 70 years old, if we remember that he was released in 1950, a big unknown arises. Can toys that are preserved in perfect conservation environments be immortal? That's because if we go back to Toy Story 2, we'll realize that this was exactly Stinky Pete's plan. He himself had already spent decades in his box and remained perfectly alive and lucid, although bitter, never having been used as a real toy, but as a simple museum piece. So his idea was basically to live forever, since he believed, and it's true, that being used as a toy would give them, sooner or later, a single destiny when they got broken or worn out: the trash. So could any of them still have been alive in the apocalyptic future of Wall-E? Them I don't know, but the Pizza Planet truck was still there. What happened to Sid's toys? Going back to talking about Sid, we know that Woody and Buzz managed to escape the Machiavellian kid's room safe and sound. And we also know that the trauma caused to the kid was so huge that he probably never hurt another toy again. However, we need to remember that he had already deformed countless toys that had become completely different from what they originally were. So the big mystery left in the air is, what could have happened to those toys? That's because, despite them being good, their appearance would hardly allow them to end up in a daycare like the one Lotso ran. Besides that, Sid himself probably must have gotten so scared of toys that his parents at some point got rid of them. So as sad as it might sound, their end must not have been a happy one at all, since kids like toys that are, at the very least, in one piece, even if they're a little old. Toys need kids. Now let's talk about something that, at least to me, is truly disturbing. Have you ever noticed that toys that aren't used by kids end up going crazy sooner or later? Because that was exactly what happened to both Pete and Lotso. Apparently, there is some kind of relationship of necessity between toys and kids for them to keep their nature leaning towards good, because otherwise they can turn into beings of pure evil and bitterness. This leads us to believe that toys that don't play with kids, like Lotso or the Prospector, seem to develop severe psychological issues. The question that remains is, do they literally need the emotional energy of a kid to stay mentally healthy? Or is it just a matter of life purpose? How do toys gain consciousness? To wrap up our list, let's talk about one of the biggest mysteries of all time. At the end of the day, what does it take for a toy to come to life and gain consciousness? First, we know that as soon as they come out of the box, toys made in factories in places spread all over the world already know their names, their functions, and the stories of their characters, as seen with the fake Buzz in the toy store. At the same time, in Toy Story 4, Forky, who is also a toy, only he wasn't made in a factory, comes to life just because Bonnie created him out of school trash and called him a toy. So does that mean a kid's intention is what gives life to something? But if that's true, toys like Buzz and all of Woody's gang, who were made by machines in toy factories, only came to life after they were touched by kids or someone with intentions for them. That's because Stinky Pete was never a kid's toy, but he also had consciousness. The more I think about it, the more confused I get. What about you? What do you think? We've also handpicked 2 more videos for you to enjoy and have fun with. See you in the next one.